Well, joining me today is one of my favourite guests that I have on 19 Not Out. Griff himself, Mr. David Griffin, stalwart of Derbyshire County Cricket Club. How are you, Griff?
I'm very well, thanks, Darren, and appreciate the invitation on this dry but slightly gloomy November afternoon.
Yeah, we're at that time of year, aren't we, where the sun never really gets high in the sky. All of a sudden, it's dark in the mornings, it's dark, well, in the late afternoons, and it's pretty grim. And if you wander around any of the county grounds, they're pretty bleak places. Lots of work going on. They're scarifying and relaying the turf. All the chairs and stands are all put away. The advertising hoardings are down. It's about as low as it gets for the English cricketing fan, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know, I was sitting at Lord's, which
Oh,
was actually beginning of September. It was our third last game. And on the final afternoon, the clouds came over and you could see there was some rain in the distance. And I looked up at the sky and I thought, the cricket grounds are the most wonderful places to be. But when that bad weather comes across and the sun was just started to fade, the lack of warmth was there for all to feel, as it were. And yeah, it is. It's quite a sad thing because, of course, conversely, whenever you see a football ground out of season, it's in the glorious sunshine, isn't it? In, late May, June, and July. But yeah, cricket grounds are a fairly desolate expanse. Even if it's Lords, it still kind of looks out of place once it gets to this time of year.
yeah, yeah. It's a very good point. That yeah, that when you see football grounds, it's in the summertime, but yeah, this the necessary works are being done, and I suppose the ground staff who do an amazing job up and down the country. It's their time to really get their shift on because, as we know, in this new cricketing environment that we're in, the season is going to start earlier and earlier. So you can't leave any of that work until the springtime. You've got to do it now.
Yeah, and the window is so short at the end of the season because, I know this with my own lawn. You see a patch of grass that needs repairing and you set about doing that in September, but do it much later than that, and you just haven't got the warmth to propagate the growth. So, yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of the astonishing footage of the Lord's outfield, where I suspect money's no object. But even at Derby down the road, there's been a lot of work gone on at the end of the season, and thankfully it was quite dry and mild. So I think Neil at Derbyshire's managed to get the work done he wanted to get done. We shall see come Saturday.
Yeah, it never fails to amaze me how you look. One minute I was at the Oval just recently, and I remember seeing pictures of that. The whole field was just like a just bare earth
Mm.
in September. But all of a sudden, when I was there for the cricket writers' lunch, it's back to looking. It's resplendent, greenery all the way around. It looked fantastic. So it is the time of year for groundworks. There's a bit of contract news around. I know in Derbyshire, Martin Anderson has put pen to paper. That's good news.
Yeah, I mean, we had him on loan from Middlesex in 2018. He took 4 for 44 in that single game, and Middlesex whipped him back. And we'd not seen a great deal of Martin in the intervening time. And then all of a sudden comes to Derbyshire, and there he is batting in the top six and looking like a top six player, scoring three first class hundreds, three fifties, and looking a real quality player. Didn't do as much bowling, I don't think, as we'd anticipated he would do. But he had his knee strapped up for quite a while. But certainly as a batter, he looked the real deal. You don't make hundreds batting in the top six in county cricket, even in Div 2, unless you know what you're doing. And he looked really impressive. And of course, he's signed a new deal now, which gives us another 3 years of Martin at Derbyshire. So yeah, that's good news. Very good news.
And it's I've just noticed I do a feature on the radio show of cricket birthdays of the week, which always surprises me. And some of the how it just makes me feel old when players I remember from watching as a youngster are sort of racking up the years pretty rapidly. But top of the list on this week's birthdays is Derbyshire County Cricket Club, 155 years old.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, really, because you think back to how cricket came into being, and the approach that you had to adopt to become a county cricket club back then. You had to the press really determined whether or not you could become a first class county. They decided who won the championship, for example, in the early days of cricket. And in Derbyshire's first 3 years of our history in 1871, 2 and 3, we only actually played 2 matches per year against the same opponents. Lancashire at home, Lancashire away. So our first 3 seasons of county cricket, we only played one opponent. Then Kent deigned to join in, and gradually it sort of grew from there. But yeah, it's a long, long time, and I think, I mean, Walter Piper, who was our earliest scorer and our first historian, if you like, was writing in the late Victorian era that Derbyshire's existence was against the odds. Even 150 years on, 155 years on, I think that was always the case for Derbyshire, and we're quite proud of it, really. We haven't got the riches or the big stadiums that a lot of other counties have got, but we are still there, and trying our best, trying our hardest.
Have you always? I mean, it's. I think Essex have got a big year next year for a celebration. But has Derbyshire always been in Chesterfield, or has it moved around like one or two of the others might have done over the time?
Well, headquarters has always been at Derby,
Sorry,
obviously.
Derby, yeah.
Yeah, it's always been at Derby. But there was a lot of talk, wow, as early as the late 1800s about moving to a place called Brampton, which is on the outskirts of Chesterfield. And then not a lot of people know or remember, but in 1975, we had a fallout with the council in Derby over the rent because we lease the ground. We are peppercorn renters, tenants of the county ground. And we fell out with them and couldn't come to an agreement. So for the whole of the 1975 and 76 seasons, we played all our cricket away from Derby. So it was where my love of outgrounds came from because all our cricket was played Chesterfield, Buxton, Ilkeston, Heanor, Trent College, Burton. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And of course, as a lad born and bred in Ilkeston, having extra cricket to watch in my own town was a real bonus. But no, other than that, and there was some talk then about perhaps moving. But again, Chesterfield is also owned by the local authority because it's a ground in a park. And Ilkeston, which was really the only other option, same. It's a ground essentially that's owned by the local authority. So, yeah, we've always been at Derby, although occasionally there's been a few flutters, a few possibilities of moving, shall we say.
Yeah. And what I like about Derbyshire, and I think it's fairly reflective of the non-host counties where they lose their identity, but still Derbyshire very much part of the community, very much engaged with the fans, and there's a great relationship between players and supporters. And one of the sort of reflections of that is you've got a big bonfire night coming up on Saturday to celebrate Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, I mean, we tried this back in the early 80s, mid 80s, and it wasn't really that successful. But in the last few years, it's really taken off since 2016, 2017. And we'd expect 10,000 people there, if only we could get them
Wow.
there for cricket matches, of course. We put a fun fair on and a wonderful demonstration of fireworks. It really is magnificent. There's all the food outlets and the bars and everything else, and there's an offering for corporate hospitality, so people who want to be indoors or on the balcony of the pavilion can have a sit down meal and watch the fireworks from a slightly more um, elevated position rather, but the rest of the people will be either in the stands or on the outfield, so yeah, it's a really, really good event, and it reflects really, as you say, on Derbyshire's efforts, and in many ways, this diversification away from cricket has been essential. 10 years ago, well, no, 8 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, when Elton John came, and we've had the Who and people like that, Michael Bublé since, and all these things are part and parcel of just trying to squeeze every last drop you can out of your other options, because of course first class cricket is only being played on there 30 odd days a year. You've got the women's cricket as well and a bit of international cricket, but that's it. So you've got to look to make the most of your resources.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because when I talk to a lot of people, again from the non-test or non-hosting counties, the commercial side of it is getting ever more important, and ways to just generate that money to keep the game going. I mean, yes, we've had this golden handshake, I call it, from the 100 money, but that could be seen off pretty quickly if you're not careful. So you do have to be, the clubs have to be run a little bit differently these days. I think the days of form players and blazers and ties is kind of like leaving us behind a little bit. You need to
Yeah,
have people that have a bit more commercial nous these days.
absolutely. No, I agree. I agree 100%. 100%. And I think if you can find these other outlets to, I guess for marketing and commercial people, it must be very difficult trying to think of something that no one else has done. It's really easy when you talk to people who've invented things or become multimillionaires and they just look at you and come out with some simplistic line. Oh, you just got to find an idea that no one else has had. You think, well, yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, if it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we?
Well, you're
Um,
right. I
but
remember when the iPhone came along, we had the iPods, didn't we? And that was
yeah, yeah,
revolutionary itself. And then all of a sudden, my iPod's going to make phone calls. I don't think so. I've got this for that. My house brick.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it is the simple things. But I think there is a move, and I think it's essential that because to survive, even if you don't even touch that money, or you just try and be as frugal as you can, it will run out at some point. And I don't think it's necessarily lining players' pockets is the way forward either. But
No.
that's another discussion for another day.
Mm.
So it's not all bad. November, we've got fireworks night to look forward to, and then we've got the county fixtures for 2026 are coming out later in November as well. So then we start to turn the corner. We start to look forward to next year. We get past the shortest day. We get into the new year, and there's a bit of ashes to look
Yes.
forward to. Are you one that sort of gets up early in the morning, or do you stay up late at night to get a bit of taste?
I'm more likely to have an hour listening to it in bed on the radio. I remember when I first got Sky years and years ago. I think I got it about the early 90s for the West Indies tour was the first one. And I thought I can cope with this afternoons, watching England and the West Indies. And then the first time it was the Ashes. I stayed up, I watched all the pre-match stuff, and then fell asleep, I think, during the first over. So my days of sitting through the night watching it are long gone. But there's going to be some good highlights, so we're told, some highlights that are free to air that we'll be able to watch in the daytime. So yeah, I mean, we keep up with it. You can't miss it, can you? With social media, you can't really hide away. It's just going to be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a cracking series, this one. All about the first test for me. England needs to win that and put a flag down as a marker. Now, also, just moving slightly away from cricket, because every time I talk to you, I like to swap stories about Bruce Springsteen. Now, I was sitting in on the Saturday afternoon show last week. Spencer Carter, our regular presenter, was off doing theatrical duty, so I sat in for him, and we did the film and DVD review section. And we have a guy, Mark Searby, comes in and he tells us he's a proper. I just sit there and just listen and keep your mouth shut because he knows what he's talking about. And one of the films that he reviewed and gave a glowing review of was this new Bruce Springsteen film that's come out. And straight away, I thought, when I think Bruce Springsteen, I think Griff. Have you had a chance to see it as yet?
No, my sister WhatsApped me the other day and said she'd been with her daughter to see Bruce. I mean, me and my older sister, we go, oh, blimey, when did we first see Bruce? 81, I think, together. We saw him over many, many shows. She said it's absolutely astounding. I guess if you're a Bruceophile, you probably will think that anyway. And of course, Nebraska is one of those sort of very different albums. You talk to Springsteen, a lot of people say I don't like Springsteen because they've only ever heard him sing Born in the USA, for example. And if you listen to Nebraska, it couldn't be more different, really. It's an astonishing piece of work, quite a haunting piece. And yeah, I will be watching the film at some stage. I've just not rushed out to watch it really because I'm not a big fan of going to cinemas and what have you. So well, I don't know if there'll be a DVD release or if it'll be on either Netflix or it's somewhere on the internet where I can watch it. But at some point, I would love to watch it. Yeah.
I mean, the reviews have been absolutely astounding, and apparently the actor that's playing Bruce has got him down to a T
Mm.
in terms of mannerisms, the look, the appearance. Yeah, I'm a bit like you. Maybe it's an age thing, but going to the cinema for me today these days is a complete faff. When you were younger, you'd be there all the time, but and it's not cheap anymore as well. And by the time you
Yeah,
get there, and uh, you want your comfy seats, don't you? And you want a bit of pop and a bag of sweets and whatever this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, you've dropped quite a lot of money.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm quite happy to be glued to my sofa and then wait for it to come on Sky or Netflix
absolutely,
or whatever else.
absolutely.
Have you got? I sort of just thought, have you got? Uh, this is going to be a hard question for such a big fan. Have you got a favourite Bruce Springsteen album or single?
Well, do you know, for years it was The River, and it was The River simply
That's
because it's a
mine.
20-track album. And if
Mm.
you wanted every genre that Springsteen has sort of gone through over his career, The River for me was one that gave you a bit of everything. But then I'd think, but how can I, if I was going to a desert island, how could I not take Born to Run, which has got Thunder Road and Jungle Land on? How could I not take Darkness with Racing in the Street on? But then I absolutely adore the Magic album because on the occasions when I went to America to see him, I saw him 2 nights running at Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium in New Jersey, and he played most of the Magic album. And just seeing him singing "Long Walk Home" and "Last to Die," and it was a very political album. A lot of it was about the Iraq War, George Bush, and everything else. Um, and I love "Letter to You," which was his most recent band album. Um, but yeah, I think if I was on a desert island and you say you can only take one album, it probably would still be The River.
Yeah, that's the one that sticks in my mind. I mean, as you say, it's difficult because it's such a wonderful um, back catalogue of
Mm,
stuff. But The River's the one that I think that was when I first really became aware of him. Would be the reasons for me picking that
yeah,
above all the others. And like you say, everyone knows Born in the USA, and I think that tour that it was. I mean, forget Taylor Swift and the Eras tour and all of that, but it was Springsteen in was it 84, 85? Was
84,
that
5, yeah, yeah,
that amazing world tour that he did? And that for me was kind of like the first real sort of mega thing. And he came to Wembley. He played Wembley on the 4th of July.
absolutely. Opened with Independence Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw him 3 days later at Round 8 Park,
up in Leeds.
which was his last show of the UK element of the tour. Yeah, that was quite spectacular. Of course, little Stephen had left the band by then, but he brought him on for that show. Yeah, it took us about 5 hours to get out of the car park. Happy days.
Do they still have concerts up around A Park? Because it was
No, no.
Michael
Well,
Jackson played there.
yeah, they've got a new indoor arena. In fact, the last time I went to Leeds for a concert was Springsteen in their new, don't know what it's called. It's an indoor arena, holds about 13, 14,000.
All right.
Absolutely astonishing acoustics. But I saw him there. Yeah, I don't know anyone who's done Round 8 Park for years and years and years now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh dear, we're giving it all away now.
Oh, was just
So, just to wrap up, so Derbyshire, what are your sort of hopes and dreams for 2026? And how's the what's the state of health at the club, etc.
well, we got the leading run scorer in the county game last year was Caleb Jewell in all formats, 1,800 runs, and really did put a marker down as a potential overseas player of real quality. He's signed again to come back next year, and I think the best teams, you only got to look at Essex with Simon Harmer, have that continuity of an overseas player, and it'd be good if we could do that. Jewell's only 28; he's not in the Australian team, so maybe there is a chance for him to come to us and be a regular. I think the key for us, having finished just 5 points behind Glam in the race for promotion in the championship, is whether or not we can get an outstanding new ball bowler. Obviously, all the news is Mohammed Abbas is on the radar, but it's all gone quiet now. Whether it's gone quiet because the deal's done and they just want to keep it under wraps for now, I genuinely don't know. Um, White ball. So Champo, I think we got half a chance. We turned the ship around last year, stopped losing games. But
He
I think if
started
we're
off
going to make progress,
fantastic last year.
yeah. But we do need that strike bowler. Interestingly, Blair Tickner's gone back to New Zealand and taking wickets for fun. um, white ball, I think, is was tricky for us last year. We didn't do at all well in white ball cricket. Um, but who knows? But with me, hope springs eternal as ever. frankly, so long as the sun comes out and keep my health and I can watch Derbyshire, I'm a happy man.
Right. Before I let you go, have you got the shorts on?
I've not worn long trousers. In fact, I wore them to the end of season dinner because I had to put a suit on, you know. And I'll wear them on Saturday purely because it's the firework event, and by sort of 7:30 on Saturday night, I think I'll need some covering on my legs. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's still shorts.
Brilliant. All right, Griff. Excellent to catch up as always, and I'm sure we'll have you back on uh, in the near future to get your thoughts. And if anyone doesn't follow Griff on Twitter or X, I strongly suggest you do because it's always very, very informative and entertaining content. And I'm going to put you on the spot now. You got a joke to sign us off with?
Fella walks into a chip shop. He's got a trout under his arm. He says, "Do you do fish cakes?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, do him one. It's his birthday tomorrow." There you go. Rubbish.
Brilliant. All right, David Griffin, stalwart of Derbyshire County Cricket Club. Brilliant chatting, and many thanks for joining me.
Cheers, Darren. Anytime.